Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. And as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, it is day 54, I believe, without football. I'm not even checking the calendar. I'm just going off of what I thought I said for the last show on Tuesday. I think I said day 52, so I think it's day 54 today. All right, that's how math works. So we'll be doing, that's what it is. Again, you're probably, when your fourth Super Bowl, you're probably worrying a bit. You're watching your team highlights on YouTube or something like that. You might, if you're a Browns fan, you're looking at the good old Bernie Kosar days before you had the quarterback jersey. Or if you're a Patriots fan, I mean, you're probably enjoying the offseason because you're so used to winning. If you're anyone like me, you're seeing what your team did in the offseason. So either way, day 54, here we are. Got Thomas back in the studio today with us. Tell him hello once again, Thomas.
Hello.
All right, so yeah, he's back. And for today's show, we got stuff to talk about as always. Just because the offseason does not mean this show stops. We got Dez Bryant. We're going to talk about his future. Dallas Cowboys have brought in a couple of receivers, so we're going to talk about that. Pretty much just give our thoughts on Dez Bryant and the Cowboys, I guess you could say. Second segment, Lamar Jackson had his pro day today. We're going to be talking about that, talk about his draft stock, and pretty much what we think of him. Maybe Thomas thinks he's a receiver. Maybe he doesn't. Who knows? We'll get his thoughts of it about it in the second segment. Third segment, we're going to be talking. I think we're going to have a full 4 segments today. We're going to be talking. Do you want to do rules in the third segment, the new rules? Because obviously we talked about the catch one, but they did implement like something with targeting or something like that.
Like NFL safety rules, kind of stuff like that. With targeting.
You want to do that third segment?
Yeah.
We'll do that in the third segment. And then for the fourth segment, we will be talking about the Browns. They have 2 top 5 picks. We've been talking a lot about the draft and the Browns and all that so far, but we're going to put a little different spin on it. So we'll be talking about, give our thoughts on what they're going to do. Okay, and pretty much just talk about the Browns as an overview. So that's how the show is going to go. Going to be a fun one, as it always is. So let's get right into it, okay? So with Dez Bryant, there's been talk, and it's not like anything substantial. I mean, it's just been questions that have been asked. You got reporters asking Jason Garrett if Dez Bryant's going to be back, if these wide receiver moves that they've made mean anything for Dez Bryant. And speaking of the moves, it's Allen Hurns who's come to Dallas, and it's Deontay Thompson, I believe his name is, that's coming to Dallas also, okay? So yeah, that's just been going on, and just the whole question with Dez is just a matter of he hasn't really produced since Dak Prescott has become the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. With Tony Romo, the dude was a monster, putting up over 1,000-yard seasons, scoring as many touchdowns as he could, all right, and catching the ball all over the place. But now it's just more so the last 2 seasons. He's had 50. First year with Dak Prescott, he had 50 catches, 796 yards, 8 touchdowns. Touchdown number was pretty nice there, but I mean, he's going from like his peak, which was from 2012 to 2014, where he had 12 touchdowns, 13 touchdowns, and 6 touchdowns in those 3 seasons. Like I said, he had 8 touchdowns 2016. 2017, he had 69 receptions, 838 yards, 16 touchdowns. All right, if I'm not mistaken, Dez Bryant's currently making $16 million, so that's where all the question comes in. So just a matter of how safe is he? Like, what do you think as far as that, like Dez Bryant, his play since Dak Prescott has become the quarterback, and just a matter of his fit on the team? Just give me like your overview on Dez Bryant with that team right now.
Well, I think, like you said, that cap hit is $16.5 million. I mean, they're pretty crowded in that wide receiver room right now with Cole Beasley and Terrence Williams, obviously adding those 2 guys, Hurns and Thompson. They might not even draft a receiver. So I feel like his days are definitely numbered in Dallas. He can definitely go do some other things other places. I know there's been reports saying his receivers coach saying that I can still do good work with Dez. I mean, like we talked about before, maybe he's not clicking with Dak Prescott. He was kind of Tony Romo's guy where he'd just throw it up, he'd find him on the sideline, just to kind of put that ball up. If it's Dez going to catch it, nobody's going to catch it. I don't think that Dak's that kind of quarterback. Dak's more of a possession quarterback, managing that game, passes over the middle, finding the open men, more to tight ends, slot receivers. Dez is that big outside receiver where you need to have a gutsy quarterback, and I feel like he can be used elsewhere. I mean, maybe even on a Falcons team where you have Matt Ryan, kind of a complement to Julio Jones on the other side of the field. But no, Dallas, I feel like his days are numbered, and he's kind of worn out his welcome there.
Yeah, I agree with you as far as he's worn out his welcome. Because, I mean, at one point, Dez Bryant was the best receiver in the league. At least I think during that little 3-year peak he had. But it's just now with Dak Prescott, it's just a matter of, like you said, Dak Prescott is not Tony Romo. He's not going to take chances throwing it to Dez. Dak Prescott, for me, his comparison is Alex Smith, okay? People may not like Alex Smith, and this isn't a bad comparison. I like Alex Smith, okay? So just know that. All right, but with Dak Prescott, he's not a guy who's going to be throwing it down the field. You saw when Ezekiel Elliott was out, that dude was barely hitting over 200 yards passing. It wasn't pretty, all right? But nonetheless, Dak Prescott isn't that guy who's going to take a bunch of chances. He's going to hit the checkdowns. He's going to hit the receivers running the curls or the slants and all that. He's not going to be hitting Dez Bryant when he's got 2 guys on him or even one of the best corners in the league, whoever it may be on him. And that's one thing, too. I'm kind of like having like a little epiphany right now, okay? Because you've been seeing every time Dez Bryant plays a top corner, Dez Bryant really doesn't do much. Okay, and I feel like that was more so a problem since Dak Prescott became quarterback than it was with Tony Romo. And I think now it's just Dak Prescott does not want to challenge those cornerbacks.
And that's the difference, I think. Romo had a tendency to throw receivers open. Dak does not have that yet. I mean, like you said, when he's being covered by a big corner, Dez doesn't have that ability to separate and get that separation that Dak is comfortable with. Whereas if you have a quarterback like Romo, like I said before, I mean, if he goes like I just kind of throw out the Falcons there, Matt Ryan, he's able to throw those receivers open and get that ball into tight spots where the guy might be covered when he releases it, but the ball where the placement of the ball is will get him open.
Yeah, and it's like Dez needs that gunslinging quarterback. All right, Tony Romo was a gunslinger, kind of like a Brett Favre type. It doesn't matter where the cornerback is or whatever, you're going to try and make the throw. And Jay Cutler is famous for it because of the fact that Jay Cutler thinks he can make any throw he possibly can or whatever. But, yeah, just get into it. I mean, you mentioned earlier the crowded wide receiver room. Okay, right now we got Dez Bryant, we got Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, Allen Hurns, Deontay Thompson, Ryan Switzer. That's 6 receivers, all right? Someone's getting cut. Someone is. All right, it's just a matter of, is it Terrence Williams or is it Dez Bryant? I highly doubt that they cut Cole Beasley because I don't think Hurns can play in the slot. Deontay Thompson isn't really a guy who's made too big of a name for himself, and Ryan Switzer is just too raw right now, I think, to throw him out there. Okay, so I think Cole Beasley's safe. I think the 2 guys that are kind of on the edge right now is Dez Bryant and Terrence Williams. All right, so let me give you my thoughts on it. Like I said, last season, Dez Bryant gave you 69 catches, 838 yards, 6 touchdowns. Year before that, 50 receptions, 796 yards, 8 touchdowns, okay? Those are the 2 years he had with Dak. You're paying Dez Bryant $16.5 million a year. Those numbers are not $16.5 million a year worth, okay? Those are number 2 receiver numbers right there. Those are solid number 2 receiver numbers, okay? Are you telling me that Allen Hurns can't get you those numbers for cheaper? Okay? Or even, like, I know Terrence Williams is a guy who's been hurt, so Terrence Williams might be the odd man out, but it's just a matter of you're paying Dez Bryant a lot of money, and I'm not going to put his low production solely on him because of the fact that they're running a new type offense. He isn't the primary focal point on that offense. Ezekiel Elliott now, so Ezekiel Elliott's going to get his touches before anyone else gets anything to them. All right, Dez Bryant has become the second option, and even then, so you got Cole Beasley and Jason Witten who still get a bunch of targets. All right, so with Dez Bryant and the Cowboys, I think it's just better off for the both of them that they part ways, okay? Because like I said, I mean, you do not want to pay a guy like Dez Bryant $16.5 million to not even get you. And I guess for a number 1 receiver making that kind of money, usually you want around 80 to 100 catches, about 1,000 yards and up, and at least probably double-digit touchdowns, maybe more so like how he had in 2016. Like 8 is like the very minimum you could take from a guy like that getting that kind of money. So even then, so like, do you want to pay that guy that kind of money? And it's just, no, you don't. That's not how the NFL works. It's a business. Wouldn't you agree so?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was going to say, the only reason why he's maybe in this conversation is the money factor. I mean, if he's willing to restructure his contract and take more of a team-friendly contract to reflect those, because I don't think he is a number 1 receiver anymore. Like I keep saying the Falcons because I keep thinking that like they need receiver help and they need some help taking off the top with a compliment to Julio Jones. He can be a number 2 on a team like that, and if he's okay with being a number 2. He can find a spot on some team. He can even find a spot on this Dallas team because all he needs to go in is to go into Jerry's office and say, Jerry, you know what? I'm ready to take a pay cut. I'm ready to be number 2. And then that'll go from there because, like you said, it's a business, and he's making way too much money, taking too much of a hit on this cap because, like I said, NFL salary cap league, you got to find a spot for everybody on there, and those number 2 receivers are not making that kind of money.
Yeah, and even then, I think Dez Bryant, like, he's putting up number 2 receiver numbers right there, but I think he was going to go to, if he were to go to a team where the offense is a bit more opened up and they take a little bit more chance, I think he could get back to the level he was once at. What do you think? Or do you think Dez Bryant's production is just, this is going to be the way it is for the rest of his career?
Well, he's going in, so he's 29 right now. He's going to turn 30 during this season. That's on the older age for a receiver. We're seeing guys that are, these younger guys that are in their 24, 25-year-olds a season. And so he's definitely on the back end of his career, I feel. And I think you're right. If you have more of an open offense, say like a Steeler. The Steelers are good on receivers right now, but
a team like Tennessee, possibly
like Tennessee, or with Mariota, who can get out of the pocket, can send plays out, let Dez kind of go on those little broken play routes, because he is a good route runner, but he's also good of a possession receiver where he's going to have the ball in his hands and he's going to hold it because he's a big frame out there, can be a good target for a young quarterback who's willing to throw the ball down the field. I just don't think Dak is that guy.
Yeah, and even with the Titans, I think that's probably the best fit for a guy like Dez Bryant right now because of the fact that you do have a quarterback in Marcus Mariota. Yes, had a down year in his 3rd year, but nonetheless, I think he's going to pick it up. You got Matt LaFleur, who's his new offensive coordinator. He's worked with Jared Goff, and he worked with Matt Ryan, I think, during his MVP year. So you get a guy like Matt LaFleur out there to help out Marcus Mariota's, pretty much develop him a little bit more, sharpen up some things. And you got Mike Vrabel, who is going to be the head coach, and obviously that's a defensive-minded guy, but if he gets the right culture out there and stuff like that, plus, like I said, with LaFleur, it's just a matter of the offense, I think, going to be opened up more. You're going to see Mariota playing well. So you throw a guy like Dez out there, pair him alongside a guy like Corey Davis, I think that would be a nice little option there. And it's like with Dallas, the thing with cutting Dez is I just don't see them as a team, like, cutting Dez, I don't think affects their win or loss total this season. What do you think?
No, I agree. He does not. You got Allen Hurns, who's a good receiver in himself. He can be that number 1. And then I think the way that, like we talked about before, the way Dak is going to run that offense, it's going to be a lot of screens, a lot of passes to the running back with Ezekiel Elliott getting a lot of touches out of the backfield, and then to those tight ends. You still got Jason Witten out there. He's a future Hall of Famer who is still putting up monster numbers out of that tight end position. That's right where he's that security blanket for Dak. On pretty much every play, I feel like he has a safety valve drawn into every play. And then obviously, I think he's going to get those slot receivers like Switzer, who's going to feel like he's going to have a breakout year for these Cowboys, especially if Dez is to leave. And then also with Cole Beasley getting in that slot area where he's just going to find those little soft spots in the zone and give good targets to Dak.
Yeah, because at one point in his career, Dez did affect the wins and losses for the Dallas Cowboys, more so when he was a younger player and when he's out there with Tony. But now you got a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, where that's the guy who's now affecting the wins and losses for that team. All right, we saw it last season. He was out for 6 games. Dallas didn't look good at all. Dak Prescott regressed. He needed Ezekiel Elliott out there, okay? So Dez Bryant isn't that player for the Cowboys anymore, and I just think there, so if you're thinking, okay, he's not putting up the numbers he once did, and he's probably not going to because of the offense we run in order to cater for, to a guy like Dak Prescott. All right, he's not putting up the numbers. He's getting paid $16.5 million, and he doesn't really affect the win or loss total for our team. Do you really want to keep a guy like that? I say no. I think, Thomas, you would say no, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just best for both parties if you cut a guy like Dez Bryant, let him go off, possibly hang out or fit with a team like Tennessee. I know the Rams are out there looking.
Maybe even the Niners.
That's a solid option right there. Jimmy Garoppolo does have the arm, and I think he is a guy who could throw guys open. Yep. That's actually one of my favorite.
Because they're locking. They obviously have Pierre Garçon coming back, and then Marquise Goodwin having that breakout year last year, got that good contract, earned that contract, I feel. But those are both more like kind of mid-route, mid-level receivers. Obviously, Goodwin's got that speed to take the top off the defense. But I feel like obviously that more small frame. Dez is that big frame. He's all of 6'2", but he's got that big frame, good hand size. He could pull the ball down. Like you said, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be that guy who's going to throw people open. So Dez to the Niners, that's my hot take. Dez to the Niners.
Yeah, and actually, it makes sense there, too, because of the fact that if Dez Bryant were to get cut by the Cowboys, and again, this is all speculations, so that's just filling up a segment, just talking, maybe it'll happen. I think it honestly will happen now that we've just kind of made sense of it. But either way, it's like, Dez Bryant, if he gets cut, he's not going to be taking second receiver type money. He's still going to want top money. He's not going to get 16 mil. He'll probably get anywhere from 10 to 15. San Francisco has cap space still, even after re-signing everyone to deals, giving Jimmy G his deal. San Francisco's the type of team where they could give Dez Bryant that $10 to $15 million, and it's not going to hurt them one bit because of the fact they have so much space. So that does make sense there. But I think, like you said, San Francisco or for me, Tennessee would be the top spots for him. But we'll see about it. I mean, if he were to ever get cut, it'd be like right before training camp or one of those like June 1st cuts or something like that. So we'll see. But either way, that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson. Probably give our thoughts on some of the other rookie quarterbacks. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Alright, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. I got Tom in the studio with me. We talked about Dez Bryant in the first segment. Alright, that was a fun one to talk about. Like, we both agreed that best thing for both would just be cutting Dez Bryant, letting him go a separate way, and having Dallas keep that money that they're going to be paying him. But either way, that's what we did for the first segment. For this next segment, we're going to be talking about Lamar Jackson, okay? Obviously, he's been probably one of the more intriguing quarterbacks of the draft class. All right, he's a quarterback who I guess you could say is run first. Did run a pro-style offense at Louisville, so I think that's a little bit overblown there. But he's a guy that likes to take off. All right, and you got guys like Bill Polian is the one who started this all. I feel okay. As soon as Bill Polian said on ESPN, I think Lamar Jackson should become a wide receiver, that take just became overblown. Not everyone, but they got people saying it. That's kind of been the take there. And then you got ESPN putting out articles. Okay, let me read you the headline. Lamar Jackson throws from under center, but declines to run 40. Okay. Him not running the 40 should be a non-story. It shouldn't mean a thing. The reason why ESPN is putting that out there is to build a narrative, keep going the narrative of maybe he should play receiver and all that. That's why they got it out there. Lamar Jackson, we already know he's the fastest quarterback in this draft class. There's no reason to watch him run. All right, we know he is a quarterback, so there's no reason to watch him run a 40 to become a wide receiver because he's not going to play receiver. But either way, ESPN's got this train going, and I don't see the Lamar Jackson should become a wide receiver, okay? If anything, that's just a bad stereotype that just scouts and reporters and all have grown accustomed to, is that he's a dark quarterback, obviously he's a black quarterback who runs. Throw him at receiver. No, that's not it. You didn't throw Michael Vick at receiver. We didn't throw Cam at tight end. All right, that's just not the case. But either way, that's the question. What do you think as far as the whole Lamar Jackson, he should become a wide receiver? What do you think of that whole idea?
No, I like him throwing. I like him behind the center because, I mean, like you said, running that offense at Louisville, he's been thrown under center during his pro day today, and he said he can make all the throws from under center, which I believe. I mean, you get those. Not everybody's got perfect footwork coming out of college. He's going to get his footwork down, obviously. In the NFL, he's got to work on that, the timing, obviously, of it. But I just love his elusiveness. If he can get that Russell Wilson model, if he watches that Russell Wilson tape where he is that pocket quarterback but then can escape when he needs to, because if anything, Lamar Jackson has escapability. He's got some elusiveness. He's got the most elusiveness I've seen out of a college quarterback in a long time. The one thing, though, the Cam comparison you said, Cam being a tight end, is because Cam was a big boy. Cam had the weight on him. Lamar needs to get there. Lamar needs to put that weight on, needs to do those squats, because, I mean, the one thing I see, if I'm a scout, I see kind of those stick legs, because, I mean, he is elusive, but he's going to have those big linemen coming after him, and the fact is those linemen run just a little bit slower than him. They're almost as fast as Lamar Jackson when those NFL linemen run at you, when you got Von Miller running at you. So you got to be able to have that body, have that NFL body type to be able to get, number one, get away, but then also be able to take those hits.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point that you made right there, too, because of the fact that Lamar Jackson, he is going to get some NFL snaps. That's no doubt. He will eventually. be under the center playing quarterback for some team. And just like Tom said, like I said, it's a good point because of the fact that dude's going to be taking big hits, okay? Imagine you got Halogi Nada running at you and he takes you down. That's not going to feel nice. Even Von Miller, who's a pretty slim dude, I feel, but he's a bigger guy, fast, he hits you hard. All right, imagine Khalil Mack coming off the edge, coming right at you. All right, you're going to have to get bigger, and that makes all the sense in the world there, too. See, that right there is something where that's something you could put as a knock on Lamar Jackson, the fact that he's not big enough yet. But don't tell me because of the fact that he's fast and has good footwork, he should play receiver when he's never played receiver before in his life. He's always been a quarterback.
Yeah, what if he's got butterfingers?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Bill Pulling, like, what is, Bill Pulling is just, I can't stand Bill Pulling, all right? It's Jeff Fisher, who's number one and play people I can't stand, and Bill Pulling has easily brought himself to number two. Jeff Fisher is never really going to come off of that top spot because of the fact that I think he ruined Vince Young. And, I mean, he had that Rams team playing like absolute dumpster fire trash. Had people calling Jared...
Mr. 9-7.
Yeah, had people calling Jared Goff a bust in his first year, and then you got Sean McVay come out, and Rams have the best offense in the league. So, either way, that's besides the point. But talking about Lamar Jackson, I mean, it's just a matter of... Yes, he's not going to be a quarterback who... You throw him out there at week 1 of the 2018 season, he's not going to light it up. If anything, he's going to struggle, okay? And that's no secret. Lamar Jackson, he has to develop, okay? No doubt about it. He's got talent, he's got tools, but he's got to develop him, pretty much hone it in a little bit more. And now it's just a matter of, like, he's not going top 15. If he does go top 15, I'd be a bit surprised. Maybe I don't see it happening because I'm going to say maybe a team like Arizona or Miami picks him up. But I feel like everyone knows that Lamar Jackson's value. You can let him slide to the second round and have a chance of getting him there. So I just don't think he's a first-round quarterback. The only way I see him going in the first round is with teams like the Saints. Teams like the Saints. The Saints, I think, are a sleeper team to take a guy like Lamar Jackson. All right, because you got Mason Rudolph, too, and I think they might like him there. But Lamar Jackson, I think, is better than Mason Rudolph. I think I feel pretty comfortable saying that. All right, with the Saints, I think that's a good fit because of the fact that you got Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback, 39 years old. All right, still doing the thing. Got 3 years left. And, I mean, it's not like if the Bills were to draft Lamar Jackson, A.J. McCarron, about a couple interceptions into it, and people are yelling for Jackson's name. No, people aren't going to. Drew Brees can throw 15 picks in a season. No one's going to be asking for Lamar Jackson because we know what we got in Drew Brees. All right, so with the Saints, it's just a matter of Drew Brees got 3 years left. Okay, you can have Lamar Jackson develop then. You got Sean Payton, who pretty much made Drew Brees into the quarterback he's in. I mean, I guess you could say Drew Brees, he's had to do with it too, but he wasn't the quarterback he is in New Orleans isn't the quarterback he was in San Diego. And I think we could all agree. But anyways, like I said, you got Drew Brees playing for 3 more years. You got Alvin Kamara, who just came off of his rookie year and is looking like a star in the NFL already. All right, by the time Lamar Jackson's ready to go, Kamara will be right there ready to hit his prime. You got Mike Thomas, who's going to be coming into his 3rd year this year, already a top 3 receiver in the league for me. Boom, going to be hitting his prime when Lamar Jackson's ready, okay? The offensive line, I haven't really paid too much to their offensive line, but I'm sure by the way of the games I watched, they look pretty good. The defense is very young, but already looking like they could become a top defense eventually, give it a few years. All right, that team is going to be ready to go by the time Lamar Jackson is ready to play quarterback. What do you think as far as teams for Lamar Jackson? What do you think as far as the Saints and anyone else that you think would be a good fit for Lamar Jackson?
Well, I like your Saints pick. I mean, I'm not gonna. You kind of said it all there, but with the Saints, I like that of the way everything lines up with the trajectory of that team and how Drew Brees when he's going to be done. I'm gonna throw it out there. I like talking about another team that's going to draft late in the draft. If he's going to drop that far, is the Pittsburgh Steelers, because I feel like Big Ben's obviously he's been flirting with retirement these last few seasons. I mean, I feel like if Drew Brees has got 2 years left, Ben's got maybe 2 or 3 left himself, and then they'll still obviously have the tandem of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown there on the offensive side, and you throw Lamar Jackson, another athletic player who can get on the perimeter, extend plays. Not quite the body size of Big Ben, obviously, but I mean, give him that time. Get on a weightlifting regimen. He's going to build up his body, get those legs bigger, where he can get away from those big linemen from the AFC North. But I feel like the Steelers, they're another one of those teams where they have that offense, they have that strong offensive line where they can protect him well enough, and then also have those weapons on the outside with AB and Le'Veon on the outside to get or in the backfield to get Lamar a little more comfortable as he's going to progress in the NFL.
Yeah, so I like that Steelers pick too. I think he's actually kind of similar to Big Ben in the way they both were scrambling quarterbacks. Not scrambling. Ben wasn't really scrambling. He's a guy who could be elusive in the pocket. Believe it or not, that big guy was. And the whole Big Ben thing, I mean, it's kind of it's like Big Ben kind of likes the retirement talk, I feel, honestly, because every year it's always like, I don't know if I'm going to be coming back. I mean, after that Jacksonville Jaguars game, we threw 5 picks during the regular season game. He's like, I don't know if I have it anymore. It's like Big Ben relishes people talking about him retiring. It's just a matter of, I don't know, with Big Ben. But either way, a team like that. And then you mentioned the Patriots. Did you mention the Patriots?
Yeah, I mentioned the Patriots in the sports podcast, and GMC sports podcast. But yeah, the Patriots would be interesting. Obviously, Brady. I think Brady's done after this year. We'll see how much longer Belichick's got. But after watching that documentary, The Tom versus Time, I think Gisele's going to get him out of here eventually, especially after losing that last Super Bowl. I don't know if they get back to another Super Bowl the way the AFC is looking, coming back with Andrew Luck now coming back off that shoulder injury. The Colts looking pretty good, and the Steelers are hungry, obviously, to avenge that Jaguars loss. But yeah, the Patriots, that's my kind of dark horse. They're going to be picking 31. I don't know if he's going to drop that far in the first round. But if he does, that'd be a good little pick there for Bill Belichick to set up his protege Josh McDaniels for when he leaves, because Lamar would be a nice little quarterback to get under the wing of Tom Brady, teach him how to throw out of the pocket, and then obviously having that elusiveness to get on the perimeter and extend plays. Yeah,
you think Brady's only got one more year left?
Yeah, I think that one more year because I feel like family-wise, watching that show, Giselle's all worried about his head, and I feel like rightfully so. I feel like he's going to be kind of done. He's going to be done, especially if they get knocked out in the divisional round this year, or if they lose in the AFC Championship game. I don't think he's making it to another Super Bowl. He's got one more year, and that's probably about it. Maybe two max.
I think I'd be kind of shocked. I don't know. Like, the way you're talking, you make a lot of sense here with Brady only playing for this year and then being done after that. I actually think that this is going to be Belichick's last year. Because with the whole McDaniels, when he was supposed to become the head coach of the Colts, then he just leaves that to back.
They'd probably leave together, if anything.
Yeah, that's probably makes more sense there. Because like with Josh McDaniels coming back to the Patriots to be the offensive coordinator, there's no way you let go of a head coaching position unless you got some type of security and you know what the plans are for you in the future. But either way, I mean, Lamar Jackson on the Patriots would be a nice little option there. The Patriots and Louisville do run similar pro-style offenses there. And I think with Lamar Jackson, it's just a matter. The biggest thing is he needs to go to a team where he can develop for a couple of years. Maybe a team like Jacksonville where you got Blake Bortles who's going to be the guy for the next couple of years. And if he's not working out, then you throw Lamar out there. But he's got to go to a good team already, a good young team, I feel. All right, those top teams like the Browns, the Jets, the Bills, or even, I don't know. He's not going to go to the Colts, obviously. Or not the Colts, the Giants.
I like your Miami pick.
Huh?
That'd be a cool little pick to go to the Dolphins. I mean, if I don't know how well Tannehill's much love he's got left in that leg. I mean, he's gotten 2 knee surgeries already now.
He had 1 knee surgery. He tore his ACL once, partially didn't get the surgery, then completely tore, then got the surgery after that.
Well, he's gotten 2 injuries, 1 surgery. I mean, I like Ryan Tannehill coming out of college, but I feel like his days are probably maybe I don't know if he's going to stay in Miami, or if they're going to stick with Jay Cutler to start off the season, or if Tannehill's good. We'll see how his health goes. But, I mean, another chance for Lamar to sit for a couple years, get some backup experience, get some tutelage from those. I mean, Adam Gase, talk about an offensive coach. He was the hot offensive coach before his thunder was stolen by Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. But Adam Gase still is that big offensive mind where if he gets a guy like Lamar Jackson, they can do some stuff down in Miami.
Yeah, I think remember when Tebow had that year he went to the playoffs and won a bunch of games? I think Gase was his quarterback coach then, and then Jake Cutler, his best year with the Bears, I think Gase was his offensive coordinator, and Tannehill, I mean, they made the playoffs the first season, Gase was the coach there, and Tannehill was having his best season, so Gase is a guy who works pretty well with the quarterbacks, and with Tannehill, I think he is going to be ready for the start of the season, but I don't know, but Tannehill's kind of weird. It's just a matter of you got to make the playoffs or they got to cut him loose, all right? And he restructured his deal, so now they're paying him less and all that's more. They front-loaded it all, gave him all the guarantee, and now it's just a matter of the incentives and all that. So Lamar Jackson is a guy who could sit behind Tannehill for a couple of years. Gase could work with him, and eventually could become a solid quarterback for that team. But, I mean, yeah, so with Lamar Jackson, it's just a matter of the guy needs to develop and all that, and he needs to go to a team with a good foundation, pretty much a solid organization there. Can't go to a team that's already been bad.
It needs to be kind of like a Patrick Mahomes situation.
Yeah.
Because Patrick Mahomes got Andy Reid, sat behind Alex Smith for a year. Now, boom, they get rid of Alex Smith, and I feel like Patrick Mahomes he's Rookie of the Year prime candidate right now.
Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, I don't know if they're going to consider him. He's not technically a rookie.
It's not like basketball or anything.
It's not like basketball where they count like Ben Simmons is going to be Rookie of the Year because he didn't play last year. But I feel like if this was his rookie season, it is going to be his first season starting. No, but definitely going to be a big breakout star this year for Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, Andy Reid has always been a guy who's done well with quarterbacks. I mean, he had Donovan McNabb, who played well in his Eagles career. The only problem was they couldn't get over the hump and win a Super Bowl. Michael Vick, the guy came out of jail and played like one of the better quarterbacks in the league, at least as good as you think a guy could coming off of a year and a half not playing football. Andy Reid did well there. And then I think one point, wasn't it Kevin Cobb, their backup quarterback, had a nice little run. Didn't he get paid by the Cardinals a little bit?
He came over the side, and then Andy Reid's not really that quarterback whisperer. He just knows how to draw up offensive plays. I mean, he's gotten now those weapons out in Kansas City. They have with Tyreek Hill and who's that little running back they got? The Kareem Hunt. That guy's really good. I mean, he's probably my fantasy guy this year.
Yeah.
If I don't keep Gurley, but fantasy tip. Look at my fantasy podcast, GMC Fantasy Podcast.
Yeah. And then, with Mahomes, I do think he's going to play well this season. I'm kind of curious to see. It's just a matter of, just what Andy Reid can do with that offense and with Mahomes. But yeah, Lamar Jackson, I think he'll end up being a good quarterback. Just got to go to the right situation. But that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about some more rule changes. So stay tuned for that, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked Cowboys, we've talked Lamar Jackson, and for this segment, we got even more rules to talk about, all right? The NFL is, I don't know, it's a weird league, okay? We talked about how they revised the catch rule and all that in the last show on Tuesday. This show, actually, we talked about how what would happen if they ended up doing like this targeting rule and all that. And it turns out after we were done recording the show, they did end up passing that rule. All right. So they made it a 15-yard penalty if you lower your head to if you initiate contact with your helmet, basically. If you initiate contact with your helmet, it's a 15-yard penalty. Okay. And it's 15 yards, but it could also lead to ejection. So that's a rule that they passed there. All right. And Thomas, you had some nice thoughts about it. Why don't you go ahead and...
Well, yeah, we talked about it on Tuesday. I'm all for player safety. All for player safety. I've done plenty of research on the whole CTE stuff. I feel like the NFL, rightfully so, I guess, on their end. They're definitely taking their time to get around to it, but they're finally kind of realizing that CTE is a real thing, I guess. They're really protecting these guys' heads. And I do agree that the DBs... usually it's a linebacker or a defensive back, obviously what we saw with Ryan Shazier. Hopefully he gets better as soon as possible. But leading with your helmet can lead to serious injury. And they need to be able to implement rules to safeguard against that and to deter it, because it's all deterrence. It's all deterrence. But these guys, especially the veterans who've been playing the league for a long time, they're really going to have to change their game, almost relearn how to tackle, I guess, because we have a lot of these DBs who are just using sheer force and hitting versus wrapping up to bring down the receivers or the ball carrier. So, no, I don't know how I feel about the whole ejection part of it, the fact that they're going to have discretion in order to eject them. I've seen countless plays where they call it helmet to helmet or helmet leading with the head when it really was leading with the shoulder, but the head kind of cocked over a little bit and hit the offensive player. They're really making this hard to play defense. Right now we want more and more scoring. I guess the 43 to 41 score Super Bowl was not enough for the NFL. But to go back to the whole thing, it is about player safety. And they do want these guys to lead with their shoulders or wrap up accordingly and tackle correctly versus flying at people with their heads, which I can agree with.
See, and I get that part, but like, what about, let's say we got like a little speed receiver going down the middle. Okay, he catches the ball. He sees that there's guys coming, and you see that the safety or whoever's coming to hit him is going to lead him with his shoulder, all right? But then that receiver goes down a bit, and then the safety ends up, or corner ends up hitting him with the head just because the guy went down so quick. I mean, it's just a matter of, are we going to get penalties on that? That's not really like the safety or corner's fault, and it's just a matter of like, it's going to be tough. There's going to see a whole.
You're putting way more pressure on the referees now.
Yeah.
Way more pressure because I mean they have. I know in college you can get reviewed for the ejections. I think they're going to obviously do the same thing. But the whole flag, that's an instantaneous. You're throwing the flag in the split second that it happens. I mean, they're going to have to really look at it, and they're not going to have a second chance to see it because it's either, like you said, they duck down and initiate it's almost like the offensive player initiates that head to helmet contact or that helmet contact, and it's nothing that the defense player did. But I mean, they're really gonna have to putting a lot of pressure on those referees.
Yeah, and it's just now it's come to a matter of like, how are you going to be able to play defense now? Okay, Ed Reed would have been banned by the NFL. Troy Polamalu would have been banned by the NFL just the way they play. Imagine Ronnie Lott playing with these rules. All right, it wouldn't have worked. Simply put. All right, and now for me, it's kind of like I understand the whole player safety and all that, but now it's like these rules are starting to be a little bit too much. Like it's just making it very difficult to play defense. So now it's just a matter of like I'm thinking now, like you know what? Just have them sign a waiver before, okay, and let them know that they're playing a very dangerous game, and let them know that it is possible for you to get hurt, for you to get a head injury. Because the fact is, I mean, like we talked about on Tuesday, they're thinking about getting rid of the kickoff returns because of injuries and all that, because it's player safety. It's just a matter of like now it's like, we got to just go with what we have. Like this is like I understand player safety. I'm all for it, but now it's just a matter of it's football, okay? You're going to get hurt. You're going to get concussions. Have the NFL send out some type of waiver before or whatever saying that you know what, you are susceptible or whatever the term may be to getting concussions and all that because of the game you're going to be playing because of how violent it is, okay? Because, I mean, you can only water it down so much before the product just gets way too bad to watch. I mean, it's just like that's the point I've gotten to now. I mean, I understand like I like the defenseless receiver one that they implemented before and the one we kind of saw last year. Like that's a little that's fine. That's what I could be okay with. I could learn to be okay with that because of the fact that if you catch the ball and you can't see in front of you or anything like that and you get knocked out or whatever, yeah, that's tough. But this one where it's like if like I said, it's possible where the receiver catches it, goes down instantly, and the guy that was leading with the shoulder ends up hitting him with the head, he gets a penalty. I mean, that's tough right there. But we'll see about it. But either way, one rule they didn't pass, right? The 15-yard spot foul one, they didn't pass that?
So, yeah, the only one there's a bunch of rules that they're either tabbing or are going to implement on this season is going to be the one they didn't do was the 15-yard penalty for pass interference. Now, I do agree that it should not be 15 yards. That's not enough incentive because if it was any pass behind 15 yards, I would just grab the receiver. I mean, 15-yard penalty. But I don't think it's going to should be a spot foul. I mean, if anything, they can implement it by the length of the pass or something like that, and then put a cap on it because I just I cannot take another one of these Tom Brady passes where he just balloons the ball up in the air and hopes to pray to Lord Jesus that he gets a flag because the DB just may have nudged the receiver or tugged him a little bit. Either maybe the referees need to learn how to be more discretionary with the calls in general and let him play a little more and not let these ticky-tack pass interference calls happen because there was a couple games, I think maybe even in the AFC Championship game where the Patriots got a whole drive and like half their drive was off of PI because Jalen Ramsey was going a bit too handsy on the sideline on these passes. I mean, I just cannot stand it. And then, of course, when it's in the end zone, we're putting it on the 1 yard line. That's how that makes any sense. I have no idea when you're on the 25 yard line and the guy happens to nudge him in the end zone. I mean, I get there's blatant PI and then there's ticky-tack PI, and I'm talking about those ticky-tack ones. It's tough. I mean, that's a tough penalty.
See, and I get your point there, but it's just like for me, it's just a matter of give and take. All right, I'd rather honestly, I like the spot foul rule. I don't want it to go to pretty much change how they do it in college because in college they do if it's a PI, it's just 15 yards, no more, low list. Okay, I'd rather, and that's the way they were going to do the rule. If they would have passed, it would have been just 15 yards if it's a PI. All right, and I understand your point. Tom Brady is the king of throwing balls deep enough to where maybe we'll get a PI here. And I get that, but it's just a matter of I would not want to see.
I mean, the whole uncatchable thing, that needs to be rewritten or re-understood by the referees and taken seriously. That's supposed to be part of the rule. The pass has to be catchable in order for it to be a PI. I've seen balls fly out of bounds, especially these Tom Brady ones where they're clearly out of bounds. The receiver had no chance to catch it. Flag. It doesn't matter whether the ball landed 5 yards in front of him, but the receiver tried to go back for the ball, and the defender who's been running 30 yards with them just didn't stop in time, and the guy ran into him as he's trying to go back the other direction. The ball wasn't catchable. They need to be more serious with the whole non-catchable pass.
Yeah, and there's that. But getting back to my point, it's just a matter of I don't want to see a cornerback getting burnt. All right, and instead of pretty much keeping up, he just grabs the receiver, takes him down, boom, that's 15 yards. I'd rather see it to where it's the spot foul there. So I guess I'd more so see...
No, I don't think 15 yards is enough. It needs to be like a 25-yard penalty.
See, there's that, but it's just I still think I'd rather just see the spot foul. I don't know, it's just something with it. I understand like the whole.
You don't see it in college though. College is only 15 yards, and you don't see any DBs pulling down receivers.
College, because I feel like the pros are going to figure out a way to be smart enough to take that. I mean, you got guys like Richard Sherman. If you don't got a safety above there playing well for him, then he's going to get burnt. All right, imagine Richard Sherman taking the guy down. Oh, that's 15 yards. We're good. So, like, I do like the spot foul. I do understand your points about it with the whole Tom Brady being the guy throwing the ball out. Don't give me the PI and all. I do get that, but it's just a matter of just like with the way the NFL was thinking about passing it with the 15 yards. I'd rather just see the spot foul rather than the whole 15-yard thing. I do agree with the whole. They need to pretty much, I guess, be a little bit more clear as far as what's catchable and what's not. Because I mean, you see guys throwing the ball out of bounds, and you'll see them saying, "Oh, the ball was catchable as a PI or whatever." The ball's few feet over and stuff like that. It's not catchable. Like there's no real, I guess, transparency as far as what's catchable and what's not. And a lot of these rules too are, I guess, it comes down to the refs. Like, what did you think? And there's no clear set of, yes, this is a foul or a penalty. No, this isn't. It's just a matter of, like, I don't know. Would you agree? Like, it's just a matter of, it's a judgment call.
A lot of discretion. I mean, these NFL refs, and I know they just changed it, I think, last year or the year before, where they made, I think like 25% of the refs are now full-time refs where they don't have another job. But it used to be where these guys are just coming in on Sundays cold from their offices, whatever they're doing. They're doctors, lawyers, I mean, morticians, it doesn't matter. I mean, I know Ed Hockley, who just retired, was a lawyer. He had his own law firm down in Arizona. I mean, these guys are not career, like, I mean, Major League Baseball, they're the umpires in Major League Baseball are traveling every single day. They are umpires full through and through. That is their job. Same thing in the NBA. The NFL is the only sport where obviously you only play one day a week, whether it's Monday, Sunday, or Thursday. And the referees are not doing that. They're not practicing like the players are every day. They're going back to their normal lives, wherever that might be, and they're not keeping up on the rules. And they hold so much discretion, like you're saying. There's not a yes or no. There's a lot of not. I mean, there's blatant fouls, of course. There's blatant holdings. There's blatant PIs. But there's a lot of discretion, a lot of ticky-tack stuff, and they get a lot of power.
Yeah, and that's one thing I never really understood. Like, why not just make the refs full-time? I just never understood the fact.
Money. And
that's the thing right there. It's like the NFL does have enough money. You don't got to pay these refs billions of dollars. Give them like a $300,000 salary, yearly salary or whatever, and be done with it. But, I mean, I don't know. It's just now so they're starting to make them more full-time. And you said Ed Hockey was a lawyer. I mean, I would have figured that dude was a strength and conditioning coach or whatever. Going to be sad.
Imagine that guy walking into a courtroom.
Oh, yeah.
That's called that's intimidating right there.
Yeah, that's some intimidation right there. But, yeah, just getting back to the point, there is, like, it's a lot of discretion for the refs. Like, it's judgment calls. There's no clear cut, yes, this was a penalty. No, it's just a matter of what they think. So, I mean, that would be a little bit better, too. It's just some more clarity as far as the rule book, as far as, like, what constitutes it as a pass interference or a holding or whatever. But, I mean, the NFL has never really been transparent with anything they've ever done, so I can't really hold my breath on it. But that's going to wrap it up for this segment. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Cleveland Browns. They got two top 5 picks, see how they're going to use them. We're going to give our thoughts on it. And pretty much if anything else comes up in the football world or anything crosses my mind, we'll be talking about that too. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked Dez Bryant, we've talked Lamar Jackson, and we talked more NFL news, all right? We're at that point in the offseason where we're talking about the rule book, but nonetheless, it's been a good show so far. For this segment, as we always do, we're going to talk about anything else that's coming up in football or anything else that crosses our minds. We both decided we'll talk about the Cleveland Browns. They got 2 top 5 picks, actually 2 top 4 picks if you want to be more concise about it. We'll be talking about that. We'll give our thoughts on what they should do and pretty much talk about the Browns as a whole. And then we'll be talking about Le'Veon Bell, all right? He is being portrayed as the bad guy in these little negotiations he's got going on. I don't really agree with it, but nonetheless, I mean, you got Steeler fans. Well, I've been checking it too. Every time Le'Veon Bell tweets or whatever, you'll see the Steeler fans, take less, take less, take less. You're being greedy and all that. So we'll talk about that, give our thoughts about it. And that should be it for the show right there. But let's actually start off with the Le'Veon Bell, okay? Let's start off. Le'Veon Bell, obviously, all right, the top running back as far as yearly salary goes, average, it's Devontae Freeman, who's making about $8 million a year, 8.5, I think it is, somewhere around there, okay? Le'Veon Bell is asking for $14 to $15 million a year. Obviously, that's a big step from what the top running back is getting in Devontae Freeman, okay? And my take on it is that Le'Veon Bell, there's no one really in the league that does what he does as far as receiving the ball at the backfield and running the ball. Todd Gurley has the same similar skill set, but he just doesn't do it as well as Le'Veon Bell, and I think the majority of us could agree on that, okay? So I'm for Le'Veon Bell actually wanting the $14 to $15 million, and I think that the Steelers are in the wrong here actually not giving it to him because of the fact that I'd go as far to say that Le'Veon Bell is the most important player on the Steelers offense, and that's kind of contradictory because of the fact that I've always said that Antonio Brown is the best player in the NFL. But it's just with Le'Veon Bell, he does more than what Antonio Brown does by running the ball, obviously, and catching the ball. Okay, Antonio Brown is the best player in the NFL, but it's just a matter of Le'Veon Bell is just more versatile, all right? And like I said, I do think that the Steelers should be giving him that money. And even then, so if Le'Veon Bell gets paid that kind of money, that's going to reset the market for the running backs. And that's one thing I'd like to see too. I think the running backs are very underappreciated in this league. And I see if a guy like Le'Veon Bell gets that kind of money, then you'll see guys like Leonard Fournette and all like Todd Gurley getting paid like that too. And I think that's what needs to happen. But like I said, I do think the Steelers should pay him what he wants. But what do you think about it?
Well, I think the fact that he is getting that franchise tag is exactly what the franchise tag is meant for. The NFL allows you to tag one player for that 1 year deal. I mean, obviously it increments every year. I think he make like $8 or $9 million last year, and he's probably due for I think 10 or 11 this year. Because so it does increment itself up every time you get tagged. But the fact that he is a running back, he's getting 30 plus touches every day or every game. And the fact that there's no security there because you are injury prone. And for an NFL team, I mean, that's the whole point of the franchise tag. And if there was a player you were going to franchise tag, it is going to be Le'Veon Bell. It's going to be tough for somebody like the Steelers to give him a long-term deal due to the fact that he has been utilized so much and has been given so many carries, so many touches, and he's gotten beat up. I mean, if he stays healthy, if he could prove that he's healthy, maybe he can eventually earn that contract, maybe long term. But the fact that when you get a long term contract, there is guaranteed money, and the fact that there's guaranteed money will scare some teams like the Steelers, which is why they have that franchise tag. But you cannot, like Jesse said, you cannot fault Le'Veon Bell for wanting more. I mean, you see some of these guys out there who are getting these contracts in the other positions, not quite running back yet. You don't want to reset that. We're going to reset that market, like he said, for the running backs. But he's going to want that security. I mean, that's probably what he wants the most, is having more years on his contract, more than that 1 year, so he knows if he doesn't get hurt. Because what if he does get hurt next year or this year? He's not going to have a year for next year ready to go. He's not going to have that security blanket for next year.
Yeah, with Le'Veon Bell, you mentioned he's getting a bunch of carries. I mean, he had 321 carries. No one else had more than 300. All right? He had 321 carries, over 1,200 yards. Let's see, how many touchdowns he had? I think he had 9 rushing touchdowns, and that's not even it, okay? As far as receiving numbers, the guy had 85 receptions. All right, 655 yards, only 2 receiving touchdowns, but nonetheless, you see, he's a huge part of that offense, okay? I've seen people, Steelers fans, tweeting that they can replace him and stuff like that the offensive line made him better. That is the farthest thing from the truth. Okay, you cannot replace a guy who's giving you 300 plus carries like no one else in the league that is, literally 1,200 yards, 11 total touchdowns, and 85 receptions. You're not getting that from anyone else. Like I said, Todd Gurley's probably the next closest to that, and he's still not on that level as far as the production that Le'Veon Bell's giving up. All right, the dude is getting more receptions than wide receivers in the league, most receivers in the league. Okay, and they can't give him $14-15 million a year because of it. He deserves to be compensated fairly for what he's done. I think that's pretty fair. Okay, Devontae Freeman isn't putting up those numbers. No running back is doing that. So I understand why Le'Veon Bell wants to get paid that much. And as far as the Steelers fans kind of painting him out to be a villain, I mean, they just don't understand the business part of it, I guess. All right, because first and foremost, this is a business. I understand you love your team and all that, but now it's just a matter of Le'Veon Bell doesn't care what team he's playing for. Le'Veon Bell sees this as a job. Okay. You're not going to stay with your job that you're getting paid less at when you got another job that's offering more if you come over there. That's just not the way it works. You obviously want to be fairly compensated for what you're getting. And people say, oh, well, they're already making millions. You're never supposed to count another man's money, ever. All right, that's just how it goes. So with Le'Veon Bell, I do think that he deserves the $14 to $15 million a year, and I would give it to him if I was a GM. And I'm sure a team like San Francisco, if Le'Veon Bell didn't get franchised, I'm sure he'd be locked up instantly. Some other team was going to get him.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, San Francisco, I was just looking at Jerick McKinnon's contract. He just signed with the 49ers over this during that frenzy of free agency, 4 years, $30 million. I just think that $14.5 million number he's putting out there, the fact that he's already putting it out there is going to scare some teams away because that is a pretty drastic jump for a running back. And, I mean, a running back, their average career length is about 3.5 years. And Le'Veon, for the fact that, I mean, yeah, he's durable, but, I mean, I feel like he's got his days are numbered. We don't want to wish injury on anybody, but we're just going off patterns here in the NFL. If anybody's going to be susceptible to injury, it is going to be Le'Veon, and that's why, like I said before, he has those that franchise tag that is kind of a security blanket for the team. Unfortunately, Le'Veon, that's why he's kind of upset about it, is the fact that he's not getting that security blanket, but the team is having that security blanket is the fact that if Le'Veon gets hurt, they're not locked into a certain contract. I know NFL contracts aren't all guaranteed, but I mean, if he was to sign a long-term one, you'd expect it to have a big guaranteed number. Yeah,
because he's about 26 years old right now, and I think we could both agree that 30 is usually the age where the running backs, they're done, and then if you last anything longer than that.
Yeah, I can see Le'Veon playing until 30 at least.
Yeah, so he's 26 right now. You give him a 4-year, well, I'm not sure if he wants $14 million a year or $14 million a year guaranteed. There's a difference there, but either way, I'd still be willing to pay that to him, okay, whatever it is, okay, because of the fact that he's 26, he's still young. Yes, he's had an ACL injury, but obviously that hasn't held him back or anything like that. It doesn't seem to be a problem for him since. So if I'm the Steelers, I'm paying him. If they don't pay him, they're going to make a huge mistake with it. So we'll see about it. But either way, there's another team in the AFC North we want to talk about, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Got the first and the fourth pick in the draft this year. Traded for Jarvis Landry. All right, have Josh Gordon back. Seems like he's got his head on straight. Corey Coleman out there playing receiver on the other end. You got Jarvis in the slot, like I said. David Njoku, who I think is going to be taking the next step this year. You got Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback. Signed Carlos Hyde to a 3-year, I think it was $15 million deal. And then the defense is still relatively young, but it looks like they're starting to develop a little bit. All right. What do you think they do with those first and fourth picks?
Well, they better, I talked about it last in the GSMC sports podcast, going after that quarterback in Sam Darnold. I mean, after seeing him thrown in the rain, he's definitely made headway, is going for that number one pick, being that number one pick out of USC. I think he's going to be that guy who probably will be the only one to have some success if he was to start right away. Maybe you put him behind Tyrod Taylor for a season, have him go out. But then again, like you're saying before with those other quarterbacks, Tyrod has one bad game, throws a few interceptions. They're going to be calling for Sam Darnold, and he'll probably be ready. He'll be one of the ones who will be ready. So I think him number one, and then depending on, obviously, there's been reports the Giants are going to pass on a quarterback. They're going to take a quarterback. So we can't really say what the Giants are going to do. The Jets are definitely taking a quarterback. My pick for the Jets is going to be Josh Allen, if not Baker Mayfield. I mean, I feel like Josh Allen would be a better, bigger, sturdier quarterback throwing down the field. So that leaves in that fourth pick. If they're not going to take Saquon, that Nick Chubb, that's a great defensive player right there. I mean, he's explosive coming in from that Georgia team. He's got some serious talent, or NC State team. He's got some serious talent. I mean, he's all in. He's the whole package. So I feel like Nick Chubb will be the big pick if the Giants don't take him at number 2. And then to go with Myles Garrett and that defensive side to have that quarterback and that defensive player.
Yeah, I think with the Browns, they are taking a quarterback first, and I think it is going to be Sam Darnold. It could be Josh Allen, but I just think everyone right now, the consensus is that Sam Darnold is the best pick. And I've been seeing like NFL draft writers on that saying that teams around the league are pretty much, it's like the consensus is he is the best quarterback. So I see Sam Darnold going number 1. All right, and let's say that the Giants want to go Josh Rosen number 2, and then Josh Allen or Baker Mayfield go 3. I agree with you. I say you take Bradley Chubb to play alongside Myles Garrett because you got a guy like Garrett who no one really talked about Myles Garrett last year. Okay, I think he missed the first 4 games of the season. I think it was first 5 games.
Yeah, he had like a shoulder injury or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But he ended up finishing with 31 combined tackles, had 7 sacks. Okay. That's nearly double-digit numbers right there for a guy who missed the first quarter of the season, I guess you could say. All right, and there was no one talking about him because of the fact that the story was that the Browns were going 0-16. You're not going to write about a defensive end who's playing well because of the fact that the team's playing on going 0-16. So Myles Garrett played well there. You put a guy like Bradley Chubb on the other side, who is the best defensive lineman in the draft. All right, that's going to be a nice little defensive line combo right there. All right, and that's one thing too. You always got to start off with the defensive line as far as your defense goes, because of the fact that if your defensive line is getting to the quarterback quick, then it's going to give the receivers less time to create separation. It's going to make the corners look better. And it's going to make the linebackers look better too. All right, because if you got your defensive line, let's say attacking the ball on a run play, the linebackers are going to have more of an opportunity to get through those holes and get to them. All right, and there's people talking about like maybe they take a guy like Saquon Barkley, but I just don't see that happening because of the fact that you signed Carlos Hyde to a 3-year, $15 million deal. And I highly doubt you signed Carlos Hyde to be the backup and just sit back there. All right, I figured.
And they got Duke Johnson too, right?
Yeah, and I figured if you take a guy like Saquon Barkley, you're taking him to split time with Carlos Hyde. Okay, Carlos Hyde is going to get his carries, and you can't take a running back number 4 to split time. It just doesn't happen that way, and I don't think Carlos Hyde has the intention of himself going to Cleveland just to be a backup. So I think it's going to be Minkah Fitzpatrick or Bradley Chubb, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, I'd be fine with either. I think if it comes down to both, I'm taking Bradley Chubb because of the fact that he's just that good of a D-line prospect. But Minkah Fitzpatrick would be a nice little help to that secondary. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he can't play corner, but he's more so primarily a safety. Maybe you play him with a guy like Jabril Peppers, who for some reason Greg Williams had him playing about 20 yards deep sometimes, which made no sense whatsoever. But nonetheless, yeah, you can't go wrong with Fitzpatrick or Chubb, I feel. But if they end up with Chubb and Darnold, that's going to be a solid first 2 picks for the Browns. But anyway, I mean, they're going to be a team that could surprise some people. I think right now people are still under the impression, oh, it's the Browns. They're not going to do too much, but we'll see about it. But that's actually going to wrap it up for today. Today we talked about Dez Bryant. We talked Lamar Jackson. We talked NFL rules. And then for this segment, we talked a bit about Le'Veon Bell and the Cleveland Browns' first 2 picks. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. This is the last day that Thomas will be with us. I mean, he'll be coming on the show possibly a few times in the future, but nonetheless, he's going to be moving over to the GSMC Baseball, Fantasy Football, and what's the other one?
College football.
College Football Podcast. So make sure you check those out next week when they come out. I think it's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when we'll be having shows coming out?
Yeah, the sports ones are going to be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Also doing a technology news and a marketing news on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah, so make sure you're checking out Thomas. Good guy to talk to, good guy to talk with. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for today's podcast. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. We'll be back next Tuesday, so stay tuned till then, and we will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.